Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reasonably Effective Podcast. I'm Ten Types, as always, joined by Uncommon Fossil.
Yep. Hello. Glad to be talking about some upcoming cards today.
Yep, and as you said, we're talking about upcoming cards, as in cards that are releasing soon in Japan. These are the Black Bolt and White Flare sets, which are two separate sets in both Japan, which is not uncommon, as well as internationally. So that's pretty cool. Ultimately, though, for at least us talking about the set, I don't think it really matters. Right? I don't think you really care about that very much.
No, I mean I do think this is the first time they've done it internationally. To me, I think because we talked about some of the old cards from the set, which we won't duplicate those. It's like they do in Pocket, which is like they do in Japan. So I don't think it's going to be the trend going forward. Although the more you standardize, the better. Coming out June 6th in Japan, July 18 internationally. By the way.
Yep. And also, as of recording this, we are recording it a little early. There's a chance some cards are revealed, but also that the new international expansion is Destined Rivals coming out this coming week or this week. So we're not covering that today. We'll probably be covering it next week, or maybe not. We'll see. We've talked about some already, but regardless, that is the next international expansion. But actually, I'm not going to talk about that first because I have something. I know you're very worried about this, but we will, in fact, be getting a Mega Charizard EX, so that's exciting. Oh wait, no, Mega Charizard X. I think it's Mega Charizard. Oh, Mega Charizard X EX. Yeah. Anyways, so we are getting that. I know that you are worried about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're getting a Mega Charizard XEX, and evolves from the same
Charmander.
Charmeleon?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Charmander?
Charmander. Yeah.
Charmander,
And
yeah.
yeah, Mega Charizard X is one of the forms, but it's just called Mega Charizard. So presumably, so we'll be getting that, and we're also getting Mega Gengar EX and Mega Diancie EX at some point. This is a long ways away, though. I think it's the last set of the year.
Right.
So, anyways, I figured I'd mention that. Does it really matter right now? No, it doesn't matter. But I figured I'd say it.
Right. And these are when three prize Pokemon are coming back, correct? These are three prizers, the
Yep.
Megas.
So I am
Okay.
looking forward to that, and you're not looking forward to that. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see if it's good or bad. I'm sure it's a mix of both, as many things are, but it's a long ways off. So we've got a number of new cards. I would say. I think my general comment, just because I don't want to overhype it, is we got a lot of cards that are okay. A couple
Yeah.
that have a little more potential. But it's not a lot of great cards that we've gotten so far. There's cards that have interest in different ways, I would say.
Yeah, and there are some good cards. I will quickly give a very brief overview of the cards we have already seen revealed, like not specifics, but though we might talk about one or two specifics here in this video. But ultimately, it's a black and white set. We got all the black and white Pokemon in this set, as well as some trainers, and so there are reprints of some different cards. There are direct reprints of cards like Prism Energy is from Black and White. We also got a reprint of Air Balloon, which is kind of weird because that's not Black and White era card. And then we also got a pseudo reprint, essentially a reprint of Triple Acceleration Energy, which again is not a reprint of a Black and White card, but we did get Electric and the Emboar. That's the Pokemon. I was like, which is it? And yeah, I guess I did mention specific cards, but these are like reprints or pretty much reprints. So the set has some of that, and we'll be talking about that today a little bit, not that much. Obviously, it doesn't matter that much for the game, but it is kind of interesting to note. And so this set has some new stuff, but then a lot of stuff is kind of based off of older cards. And we're starting off actually with Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus here. And I believe this Tornadus is based off of an older Tornadus that I don't think was super good. The Landorus and Thundurus might also be based off of older ones. I honestly don't really know. I think the Thundurus is, and the Landorus might be too, but they're not insane. What they do is the first attack for one colorless accelerates a basic entry from hand to them. Of course, you got Tornadus colorless, Thunderous Lightning, and Landorus Fighting.
Yeah,
And
hang on. The first attack though, that's the Tornadus. Each one accelerates, but then the
oh, okay,
Thunderous is from deck. Because from hand is the worst of them. Then there's one that's
yeah,
from deck, and the Landorus is from the discard pile.
okay.
So it's makes that a little better.
Yeah, it does. They're similar, but yeah. And then their
Yeah.
second attacks are all 110 for three. The colorless one's all colorless, and the other two are one energy of their type and two colorless. And then they have secondary effects as well, which aren't all the same. They all have some downside though. Oh wait, no, sorry. The first one does 100. Yeah, the others do 110. I will say, notably Landorus, though this also kind of applies to Thundurus. They can take one shots using weakness on important basic Pokemon. Fezandipiti EX, Squawkabilly EX are both very good cards in the game, especially Fezandipiti, and that has more HP. So I mean, it's not like realistically useful much really at all, but it does do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's three energies to do like 110. That's it's just not good. I think these are, to me, this is like the worst set of the cards we're talking about, but I don't know if we fully agree on that. But you'd agree these aren't I think I'm putting these in decks, is my guess.
Yeah, my only thought was notably the Landorus could go in, or I don't know if it's actually notable, but I'm going to say it. Landorus could go in maybe like Armarouge box, and then you could use it to, like, again, one shot the Fezandipiti as a single prizer, which is like, it's kind of worth something. It's not awesome, but it's all right.
And hey, I'm a big Dodrio fan, which does damage based on how much damage it is. It does 110. It also damages 10 to each of your bench Pokemon. So if you want to get damage on your bench, that's
yeah, a little bit of damage on your bench and on your opponent's active as well.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean that's a reach even for me, I would say.
Yeah, but then I guess I'll introduce the next set of cards here, and this is, we got a good Joltik, but the Joltik isn't very good, and there's the good Joltik in Standard, but then there's Galvantula here with Discharge for 1 Lightning. It has 90 HP as a Stage 1. You discard all Lightning from this Pokemon, doing 50 for each card discarded in this way. Again, this is each card, not each energy, which we talk about a good amount, and occasionally there's some confusion, especially because Pokemon has kind of changed it over time, but regardless, if you discard Reversal Energy, despite discarding 3 Lightning Energy from this Pokemon, you only do 50 extra damage. And also, I will say the Joltik for 1 colorless on a basic, the one in Standard, which is played right now, you accelerate 2 Lightning and 2 Grass Energy. Is it to your Pokemon in any way you like, including itself? I don't remember.
I'm trying to look it up. It's two grass, 2 lightning, any way you'd like.
Yeah. So, but obviously, notably, that plays grass energy and probably a good amount of it. And at that point, then, you don't get the value of the grass energy on Galvantula itself. And there also is a pretty solid Galvantula, though it is 2 energy. Well, no, this one is 1 energy, but you don't really want to be attacking for 1 energy, though.
Right. I mean, it's not great, the Galvantula, and the Joltik isn't good. But you have other Joltiks in format. So the question is, do you play like a one of this Galvantula if you're playing a deck with Joltik? I'm not sure I do, but it gives you can do a couple hundred. You can do like 150 on a single prize at some point in the game. Maybe that you get some value out of that. It's still questionable, probably.
Yeah, and if my thoughts on the Joltik box deck or whatever, I think it's bad as well. I think it's not. I mean, I don't think it's like horrendously bad. I think it's like not top 10. Regardless, it's okay. And this could have a place, but nothing spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, what, 2 energy? You're one-shotting the Squawkabilly EX, so
Yeah,
if
but also your whole
you
deck's lightning, or essentially your whole deck's lightning. You could take 3
yeah, you
prizes with
probably
like
don't need
Iron
it.
Hands. I mean, it could have use cases.
Yeah, I mean, because you're the idea of a single prize attacker and a multi-prize deck is to shift the prize trade, which is good. But you're also with a Joltik deck attacking with Joltik, and that's probably getting knocked out at some point. So then it loses some value having a second single prize attacker. So Pokemon.
Yeah, and also the Galvantula, the grass one, will hit that one shot, but it is a grass and a lightning, so it's a little more awkward there. I guess. I mean, this is 2 lightning. I don't know. It's not that much more awkward.
Okay. Yeah, so it's it's okay. I could see maybe this getting some play, unlike the first set of cards. But I think but we have better cards coming up, I would say. So should we go on to the Foongus and Amoonguss, which are just fun to say anyway, right?
Yeah, and you said you thought these were better than the Landorus and Thundurus and Torrentius, and I don't know if they are. But
All right, so the Foon the basic we're going to go through a series of stage 1 Pokemon. They that's kind of what they did. This is from Black Bolt. Some are from Black Bolt. Some are from White Flare. Not that really matters. with what they're from.
Wait, a
So
series?
the,
Aren't we gonna go through two and then there's like a
well,
stage two and there's a stage one and there's a stage two and then a stage one and a stage two.
maybe I think we have three stage ones in a row. Oh, this is the second stage one. We had the Galvantula, we
Oh,
had the
yeah, that's
Amoonguss,
true.
and then we have one after. So that's anyway. That it doesn't really matter. So the basics aren't very good. For one colorless energy, you can poison your opponent's active Pokemon. You would use it in this deck some though, because the Amoonguss 120 HP, so that's nothing to get excited about. But that you kind of expect that. It's got two attacks. The second attack is bad. For grass colorless, it does 60, and if you're relying on that, I think you're a bit delusional, probably, but hey, maybe someone will crack it too. It's always fun
Yeah,
to do.
that's true. That's true.
But the first attack has some value. A dangerous reaction. The translation here. We'll see if that's correct or not. But 30 plus another 120 if the opponent's active Pokemon's affected by special conditions. So you're getting 150 for one energy on a stage one. That's not bad. It's not great, but it's easy to poison, right? With Brute Bonnet and the tool, or in this deck, occasionally you're going to be attacking with the basic to get your opponent's Pokemon poisoned. And then, of course, with the special condition, you have that still affecting them too. So you add that on to, if they're poisoned, then you're doing 150, but then you're doing 10 more. And obviously, you're trying to hit for weakness for some things is probably where it's at. So look, you're going to say it's not enough damage, I got to imagine.
Yeah, we like briefly talked about this before the podcast, and I also talked about it on my own channel. I don't actually remember exactly what I said about it on my own channel, but you look at this attacker and you're like, oh, what if it hits weakness and it's doing double damage? And what are the most played grass sweep Pokemon? Charizard EX, Minus Grimmsnarl EX is also played, and I mean it's like it's kind of out, but it's certainly fully out by the time that the set's out, and people have played it more, and I expect to be played some. Probably the second most played dark grass sweep Pokemon. There is Roaring Moon EX, which you will one shot. Wait. Well, you theoretically would one shot, but if they have Ancient Booster Energy Capsule, you can't actually affect them by special conditions, so that's not good. And
Yeah.
then Barney's Grimmsnarl EX and Charizard EX, you don't one shot with a special condition. I mean, Barney's Grimmsnarl EX that has what 320. There's
Something like
also
that.
there's also like I've been seeing a lot of Mamoswine recently.
Mm.
And then I've also been seeing that there's some Hydreigon Spell, which are weak to you, and you're not one-shotting. Barstone's Spell EX, you can one-shot if you're burning them, because you're doing 300, they have 320. Or if you just poison them, which is probably what you want to be doing using Brute Bonnet, then they usually have Froslass, they'll probably knock themselves out. So, like, you kind of get the one-shot there. But that's, like, still a bunch of commitment. I think and then against anything else, it's pretty bad. I guess you one-shot Squawkabilly with poison, but it's not that good. And then also, the cool thing about this is that it uses a Brute Bonnet, which is kind of funny because it's like a Moongus, right? They're like the same Pokemon, but a
Right.
different version. But obviously, that doesn't make it good. It's
Well,
just funny.
yeah, you could also increase the poison amount, right? You have
Oh,
this what
that's
Perilous Jungle
true.
does two
Wait, but that
more,
doesn't
and
work on
then
the Darkness Pokemon that you're hitting for weakness.
but if you take away, yeah, but that's true. And then there's the Pokemon. Is there a Pokemon that does it on your bench that's in format now that increases
No. There's
poison?
Pekaron. You could poison yourself and attack, and then knock yourself out somehow using your poison. Oh wait, no,
Hmm.
that wouldn't work. You need to knock yourself out before the poison, and then you'd send up the Pekaron to do extra poison.
All right. It doesn't sound ideal. Obviously, you poison yourself as part of what you're doing. Then you do a binding mochi as well to get another 30 so of damage. Look, here's
Yes.
why I think it's the best so far. I don't think the three basics are that good. They're basics, which is nice. I don't think the Gavantu's that good. The Gavantu's only potential because the Joltik. This one I could pretend this is the best so far.
Yeah, and
And
I did forget
hey,
Biting Mochi, which is meaningful. So you can get those one shots
yeah,
with
and we're in the middle of the we're in the middle of the CU Cup and live right now, and I think that's coming back. So something like that. Maybe do you play in that format?
maybe. Wait, but you can't play Brubana in that format. I don't think.
No, that's true. But you
Well,
can play
you'll figure it
Perilous.
out. You'll figure it out.
Yeah, well, and that's also expanded format, so you probably have better stuff. But it will, anyway, it's fun to say Amoonguss and Fungus though, so I like it just for that.
Yeah, okay. Then we have the next set of cards here. This is Zora and Zoroark. And Zoroark here does, for 1 darkness, you do Mind Jack, and it does 30 feature points bench Pokemon. And then for your second attack, Foul Play, you copy one of your opponent's attacks and use it as this attack for 3 colorless. And I think this is a reprint of an older Zoroark. Where's Let me find this.
All right.
I actually have the language to Japanese, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I actually wanted to double check on that.
All right.
Yeah,
Let me talk while you look it up here, and you can jump in. So yeah, the Zorua isn't good. The Zoroark, it's interesting. The first attack's not bad. It's 1 darkness. Again, I think having a 1 energy attacker is nice in a deck, which is plus. So it can do 150. Assuming your opponent fills their bench to oblige you, which they'll do that for sure at a lot of the time. So that's okay. But then the second one's actually pretty nice. Choose one of their opponent's attacks and use it. It's a nice option. You got to get the 3 energies on. You have the reversal energy to pay for that.
yeah, and you do have the new ignition energy as well. But when I did find
Yeah.
it, so the Zoroarks were there's 2 older ones that's like kind of a combination of there's one with Foul Play and there's one with Mind Jack, and they are a little bit different, but yeah, it's like referencing those, which the one's actually not a black and white error card, but it's a black and white error Pokemon. The one is a black and white error card, but yeah, this is like cool. There is also, I will mention, another Zoroark in standard that's like a regular Zoroark. There is like the Ends one as well, which you can't play unfortunately with this to evolve from the same Pokemon, but you have Zoroark from Shrouded Fable with Illusory Hijacking, which does 60 for each of your opponent's Pokemon EX and V in play, which is like okay. It's not insane, but it's all right as well.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, we keep getting better, right? This is probably the best card of that we've talked about so far, I would say, right?
Yeah.
Because the first attack's okay. At times, the second attack will be good. Obviously, you have a couple special energies, right? Is what you'd be doing. You can't rely on an attack that uses your opponent's attacks against them. Some sort of a box deck, I guess, that is using the special energies. Is probably what you might get consideration for, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Also, notably, Darkness Energy is sometimes played in decks and teched into decks because of just Monkey-Dory. I honestly think in general it's not super good in most of those decks, but sometimes it can be pretty good. So if you are having some deck that has using a deck with just some random Darkness Energies, you can put this in and be able to use Mind Jack relatively easily, which is kind of interesting, kind of unique. And then again, Foul Play is like pretty solid. It's like kind of the same as MUEX. MUEX is a basic and obviously has more utility as well, but this still does have utility with 2 attacks, which is pretty fun.
Right, and look, the advantage to Mew is that this is a single prize Pokemon, so that's a plus. They're both 3 energies. This you can use reversal energy, right? You can't do that on Mew, so yeah, I don't know that it's going to see a ton of play, but it could definitely get some consideration for some decks.
Yeah. And then the next card is the Reuniclus. You were definitely interested in this one a little bit, right?
Yeah, no, I like this. So this is a stage 2. We got the basic Solosis, which is not good. We got the stage 1. So the stage 1's not bad. So stage 1, it's got the first attack. The second attack does 30 for 1. That's not good. But the first attack on it for 1 energy, you choose a card that evolves from one of your Pokemon, put it onto the Pokemon to evolve it. That's okay, and it fits in with this deck. If you're playing this deck as a deck, you'll use that attack on the stage 1 at times. But then the Reuniclus, 2 attacks on it. Both for 1 colorless energy, which is nice too. It's colorless, so it can go in any deck you want. They're 1 energy attackers. Those are pluses. The first attack, Solar Awakening. For each of your bench Pokemon, search your deck for a card that evolves from it and put it onto that Pokemon and evolve it. So you could potentially evolve 5 Pokemon with 1 attack for 1 energy. That's very good. So you could have just Reuniclus as a setup attack. And I know you don't like setup attacks, accelerate energy and stuff. And this is another setup attack, but 5 of evolutions at once could be worth the effort there. But also you can play it as its own deck with Evo Lariat. It does 40 plus 40 more for each evolution Pokemon in play. It's an evolution, so it's doing at least 80. plus you could get another 200, so you could do 280, and that we're at the much bigger damage numbers we've talked about so far. So this one starts to have actually some potential.
Yeah, so I was just looking at EVEX to see because you can use Area Zero Underdepths to have 8 bench Pokemon, so you could evolve, I believe only 7. I'm looking at the reading what EVEX says. It says it can evolve from any Pokemon EX that evolves from EV if you play it from your hand onto this Pokemon. So I'll be able to use it with Reuniclus there, but yeah, you can get 7 actually, which is like kind of funny, but not that good. Also, this Pokemon only has 140 HP and again has like a setup attack that seems kind of like what you want to use. It reminds me of Mamoswine EX, I think, because it has a kind of setup like style as well as this like a evolution ramping damage attack. It's also not super strong looking. Like I feel like the damage isn't that much, and it's a lot of like setup or it's a lot of moving pieces to like not get super far. And again, 140 HP in a stage 2 is just not very good, unfortunately. You do have one retreat, which is cool, I guess, but yeah. So, I mean, not
Yeah,
that
no,
if it was like 180 or something, it wouldn't be like insane, but it'd certainly be a little bit better.
the HP is very low. It's very fragile, which isn't good. But there's synergy in the line with the evolution on the stage one, the attack that evolves. Like I said, maybe you could try Reuniclus deck. I might do that because it seems like fun. The best usage probably is the first attack on some other deck, right? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah,
I don't
like
know what it would
Charizard
be.
EX. You evolve into your Charizard EXs, and then your Mars Grimmsnarl EXs, and then you evolve into like your Noctowls too.
Yeah, and my Archaludons too, right?
Yeah, yeah,
While I'm
all
at it.
those.
So
So
no, but seriously, evolving 5 Pokemon at once is a good thing.
yeah, it is
I don't.
cool. I don't know how much better it is than Team Evolution. Like, yes, I feel like you get
Well,
value from like the third one, and then maybe the fourth one you can get a little bit of value from. I feel like you don't really need to evolve 5 Pokemon really ever. And then obviously this is stage 2, and which is like way worse than Team Evolution, which is just searchable. I mean, it's probably
yeah,
less searchable than Reuniclus itself potentially, but obviously you need to wait a turn, which again like probably is bad.
yeah. I mean, the fact that if you try to make it a setup Pokemon that's a stage two, now you're like you can't attack meaningfully till turn three, and that's assuming everything your first 2 turns set up properly. So it probably, if you're going to play it, it probably is a Reuniclus deck, maybe with some other attackers that pair in with it. But it's a fun one, is to me, is what I'd say.
Yeah, I almost wish this card was like a basic, and I feel like it would be like as strong as basic. I mean, Evil Lariat would be pretty good. It wouldn't even be insane. I feel like this card maybe lower the HP a little, though I don't even know if you would have to. You can maybe reduce its power a little, but I feel like if this was a basic, it would be like fair and like cool, strong but cool. Definitely a card that
Yeah.
would see play, and then it would be like interesting. But this one again, stage 2, just like really really clunky.
I guess that's, I'm thinking, could you pair it with a Mamoswine EX, right? Which is,
Yeah, maybe. I mean, ultimately, Mamoswine EX is like really nice because it has high HP and also is tankier for that reason. And then
yeah.
it like gives up less prizes, so you're not getting new Pokemon to play all the time. It also does bit more damage, and so like you have more time to set up, and then you do more damage, and you're just way stronger. And so, despite it being clunky, EXs are less clunky than single prizes, just kind of due to how they work.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I could use Reuniclus to set up. If you used Reuniclus and set up your Mamoswine deck with it, and you gave up just 1 prize, and then you forced your opponent still to take 3 2 prizers, that's a lot of ifs there. But if you
Yeah,
did that, you would just win the game pretty much all the time, right? You'd be
probably.
set up in a
But
crazy
I
good
mean,
way.
Mouse X, like it's like it's not that good, but your ability does help you get Pokemon into play as well.
So yeah. So okay. So it's got some potential, but it's or it probably won't part of the evolution probably should be an ability on one of these Pokemon, I would say, to make it a little more viable if they wanted to make it better. I guess with this somewhere in that Reuniclus line, just so you can set up a little faster.
Yeah. The next cards we have though are not about setting up faster. They are item lock. Yeah, more item lock. This is like I talked about these cards some on my own channel, just as a regular video by myself, and this is the main one I focused on from this set of cards. I had not seen the newest ones yet, but Frillish here does item lock for one psychic on a basic. It has three retreat. It has 80 HP, so that's like bad, but whatever. Then you have Jellicent EX here, the stage one, which has 270 HP, and its ability Seeker, so as long as it's in the active, your opponent can't play any items or tools from their hand. And then Power Press for Psychic Colorless does 80, but if it has 2 extra energy attached in addition to its attack cost, and that does an additional 80, so it's doing 160 there for 4. And I've heard people mention this one in Gardevoir to get the 4 on. There are some different ways. None of them are truly amazing. Gardevoir EX, obviously, you need a lot of moving, not like that many moving pieces, but needs a bunch of energies. You need the stage 2 in play. The energies need to be in the discard, and you also need the stage 1 in play as well, and in the active. And also, you might want a second one in case your opponent has Iron Bundle or something like that. But your opponent can still boss's orders out of the active.
Yeah, and we've talked about this offline too when it first came out. So this, and I think, look, the cards are getting better. They're still getting better as we're going through. I would say
Yeah, except for
this
the
is the
Mutant
most
List.
promising. Well, yeah, okay, maybe. But look, first off, the Frillish in of itself, the basic, but you might just play the Frillish just may see play on itself, right? It's one psychic energy. If you're playing psychic and a Pokemon, now if you're playing Gardevoir, you're going to play the stage one. But if you're not playing, if you're playing something else, you could put this in it. Certainly like a Mimikyu deck, some type of walling deck or
Yeah, I feel
something.
like Badoo is mostly better. Like it's free, which is really good. Also, free retreat is also
Right.
good. I don't know how much it matters. It matters some. I mean, 3 versus free is like a huge difference. Even with
Yes.
air balloon, you don't have free retreat, but you will have an energy on. But like I feel like Badoo being able to like you want to attack turn 1 going second, and with Badoo you can attach active retreat, which is a really big deal as well, potentially.
Yeah, yeah. Look, correct. I can see the argument for Badoo. I mean, you need to have a deck with psychic energy, a decent amount of psychic energy to hit it, right? I would say you're not just slapping one or two psychic energy with this in, but 80 HP over 30, it does make a difference. We're
Yeah.
getting more ways to spread damage. I think that is growing in the game too. So that 30 HP is a prize plus something else, right? So if they, so I like the 80 a lot. The retreat cost, I gotta say, I don't like at all, right? That really hurts it. But and obviously it does twice as much damage, but I think that's neither here nor there, honestly, right? But
Yeah.
but it could get played, right? You could play just the Frillish without the Jellicent in a deck. The Jellicent, the good and the bad. First, look, I like the fact item lock on ability. That's really good and really interesting potentially. I mean, it might be really bad for the game, right? If
Yeah.
there's a lot of this played, that part's not good. But item lock in the just based on an ability in the active is pretty good. The damage level's pretty poor. Oh, and also I haven't played it in a bit, but there is like the
Tyranitar? Oh, no.
no, Alakazam that attacks from the bench, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that card.
So exactly, you forget
I,
about it,
I
but
like
it's
thinking about it the other day, and I already forgot about it.
so or something. Put this in the active or hit and run deck too. I don't know what that would be, but hit and run decks are fun. I think we both like those. Certainly an expanded format, there's things you could do. 270 HP gives you a decent amount of tankiness, and and you send it up into the active. So I don't know hit and run in standard format now. Like I said, the Alakazam, it would be one way to use it. I would think so. I think about it in that deck.
Yeah, there are definitely some pretty cool ideas with it, and I think you could also use the special energy, not the one like reversal, or the one that's 3 energy, and you use
Yeah.
that to instead have a psychic and that energy, and then be hitting 160, or you could just be hitting 80, or as you said, you could be using hit and run. You do need to switch out, which is still like kind of awkward. But yeah, and I think it is a pretty solid card. It reminds me a lot of Tyranitar, which item locks in the active. This also tool locks, and also I think I said this in my video before, but this is like items and tools, and of course, tools and items were within the same category of just regular items in the black and white era. So that I think might be why. Not entirely sure. Honestly, like the tool lock doesn't matter that much. It's nice to have. It makes it a little bit better.
Well, I'm also trying to think through things that I would try, which you'll say are terrible because I get it. I like terrible things too. But like with Spite Ops, something we have the tool, the counter curse,
Spite Ops
whatever that
EX,
increases.
right?
Uh, yeah, Spite Ops EX for something to increase retreat cost, right? We have the tool that we can attach to ourselves. And if you're doing like getting something stuck in the active, and you don't have to attack, then you can just start passing. And those are the best games ever. You get your opponent locked and just pass for 20 minutes, right? That's what we want the game to become.
Yeah.
But they can't, because then they can't play tools either. Air Balloon's coming back, so now we can really get something stuck in the active potentially. So that's a way to make things really miserable too. That's what I'm thinking. But it's that kind of card, right? It's a make your opponent miserable kind of card. So I'm just trying to think ways to increase the suffering when I see a card like this.
Yeah. Oh, also, you can boss's orders around this, but you could also use Relicanth to copy the attack on the basic. Is that good? Probably not, but you could do it. So yeah, it's an option. You could have essentially a Badoo, like a two-prize Badoo with 270 HP. So
right, because that was the advantage to the Mawile, right? When you had this Black Snorlax in format, we know that how fun that was to play. But you could try to gust something to the bench, but the Mawile was the effective an attack, so they couldn't gust around it. So yeah, Jellicent with Relicanth, and then plus if you're getting something stuck, if that's the goal, then you don't want to knock them out. So the lower damage would actually be better in that case as well.
wait, what's low damage?
If we're trying to get something stuck, if we're playing a stall game, if I know you might not like that terminology, but if we're trying to get our opponent's Pokemon stuck and just in the game and make that the win condition, then less damage is better.
Well, and you're saying what's less damage?
If we copy Phyllis's attack with
but you don't
Relicanth,
need to attack with Jellicent EX. You could just pass.
That's true. That's
so
true.
it's not.
It's only it lets them. It would keep them from bossing to get out of it if you think they're saving that boss card, right?
Yeah. But anyways, it's like a pretty good card. I think it's not like insanely good, but it's pretty solid, pretty strong, and I expect to see some play. I don't necessarily expect it to be super good. It could be, I'm not sure. And it does need certain levels of support. And Gardevoir's like solid support, but not literally perfect. But it's all right. You can also pair it with Munkidori in that deck to like heal up as your opponent does not that much damage, hopefully, to you, too.
Yeah, I mean this card will see some play. I imagine these two cards. Sometimes even just the basic, I think. So this is probably the one that of what we hit so far is going to see the most experimentation. I think it has a bit of appeal to a lot to people.
Yeah. Then the next card, or do you want to cover the Chandelure here, or should I cover it?
Yeah, I'll jump. Yeah, so we got the Chandelure line, the stage 2 basic fire. I mean single prize. Once again, the stage 2 has 150 HP. So I'm a little. Plus, they're going to be printing these Mega EXs soon, and it seems almost like these stage 2 HPs seem like they're reducing them. I gotta say,
Yeah, I
right?
think these are just lower HP like Pokemon in general. Chandelure is like weak. I know Reuniclus generally is pretty weak as well.
So what the basic Pokemon here, the attack on that, you can look at the top card of your deck and you may discard it, which has some value in that. The second, even if you're playing a Chandelure deck in the stage 1, 50, and you discard any in the Pokemon, I mean you're probably getting knocked out anyway, but it doesn't matter. But it has some value. So the stage 2. 2 attacks. The main one is the first attack for 1 fire energy. It does 50 plus 10. If you have at least 10 basic fire energies in the discard pile, it does 100 more. So it's doing that 150 number that we're kind of seeing a lot of these cards are hitting at, which of course is on the slightly low to 2-shot the multi-prize Pokemon. So, but it depends, right? It will get some things. So, and you're gonna get energies. You're gonna need a high amount of energies in the deck. So therefore, it makes the deck a little less consistent. But getting 10 in the discard pile isn't terrible, is what I'll say. We have ways to do that. So 1 energy attacker that can do 150. not bad. And the second attack does 180, a little more damage, but it's for 2 energy, which isn't bad once again. And then you discard all energy from this Pokemon. So, and of course, you could use the new special energy as well, right? Or is that just
No, no,
colorless
that one's
energy?
just colorless. It's triple
All
acceleration,
right.
which is three colors. But um,
We could use reversal if we're behind in
yeah.
prizes.
Although that's not as good because you do want the fire energies in the discard for the first attack. And I actually got a
Yeah.
comment. Someone said that they think the second attack is better, which might be true, but the second attack is not very good. It's pretty low upside. First attack, theoretically, I mean, it does less damage, but theoretically, it's higher upside because it's only one energy, so you can commit to less
Right.
things when it's going. It's just kind of going. Kind of reminds me of Cereal EX, except Cereal EX, it is a two prizer, but it has way more HP, generally does way more damage, and is like easier just to kind of get going in general. And also doesn't need 10 energy in the discard to start doing meaningful damage as well. So Chandelure is kind of interesting. It's not super strong though, unfortunately, and I think that's honestly about all there is to say about this card.
Yeah, the reason I think if it's going to be viable, I think it's going to be the first attack because you're going to just have to chain Chandelure after Chandelure, assuming you get one shot every turn. And but it's a stage two, so it's not easy to chain stage twos because you're going to have to attack probably 5, 6 times over the course of the game as they're knocking you out. So can you chain those attacks consistently? Probably not. Does it have a place in a deck? If there's a deck with a lot of fire energies, which you get sometimes, right? Maybe it has a place in that, but maybe not.
Yeah, I will mention that there are some other like OK Chandelures in format. You played against one in the
Oh,
CU
the
Cup where they hit you for a whole 10 for one in stage two. So this does base damage. It does more than that one. So crazy card here. But yeah, no, Chandelure is definitely again kind of interesting, but not super interesting. Probably not super good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it would need to, if even if it's on a stage one, this attack, it's still kind of questionable, probably, right? And then you make it a stage two, which to me is a lot tougher than a stage one. It probably just isn't going to be viable.
Yeah. Then the next card slash cards, we got Volibee and we got Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz here, the stage one. The basic is pretty bad. But stage one, Hunt for Prey for is your ability, and this says once during your turn, you may have your opponent reveal their hand, and then choose a basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less you find there, put it onto your bench. Then it does 90 for 3 colors, which is not bad, honestly. It's fine. Could definitely be used sometimes, though certainly not in deck build around. But the ability actually, I didn't really look that closely at this card the first time I saw it, or the second time I saw it. The first time I thought it was an attack, and I thought it had to be in the active, this Pokemon, but no. It can be used every turn, getting basic from your opponent's hand onto their bench. So you'll generally get it, probably at some point. Most decks, play basics with 70 HP or less because, buddy buddy poffin. And this is good to get these Pokemon down to the bench to either target down with your attacks, although you won't necessarily be able to snipe them using damage because of Shaman, but still something to consider. And then also it could be used for, of course, control-based decks to get certain Pokemon stuck in the active, though generally these 70 HP Pokemon are ones that will evolve, so then they might be able to evolve and retreat or something. I don't know. Trapping them seems a little sketchy. Though could be useful, but I think going after, getting easier Pokemon to go after is really good. Maybe something like Iron Hands EX could use this. Iron Hands EX, in my opinion, not super strong right now. It's not terrible, but you're gonna struggle to find targets for it all the time. But this will get you targets for it more often.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting card. I'm also, yeah, something like Iron Hands could be good. Assuming if you're placing damage counters, right? Shayma doesn't stop placing damage counters, right?
No, no, just regular damage.
So things that play it because it's a stage one, so you could even some decks might put a 1/1 line. Would a Dragapult EX put a 1/1 in? They don't want to give
Yeah,
a
I
ton
mean,
of
I
deck
think
space,
it
but
could. It's a little awkward again with bench space, and
right.
deck space and stuff. But I think it could be usable. I mean, it is theoretically nice. You don't get the one shot on the bench snipe unless you do something special, which there are things to do that. There's Monkey Dory, though that's not super strong in Dragapult. In my opinion, I think it's kind of bad. But then there is this Hawlucha, again, kind of sketchy at times, but it's all right. And there's some other things. There's the Rocket's Crobat line, there's Dusclops, there are
Right.
some different things. So it has use cases.
Well, because also people are playing Badoo, right? And if you're playing Badoo and if your opponent plays Badoo and they discard it to get it out of the way, you can slap it back and play every time. If you get the damage to play, you could
Well,
Monkey
it's from
Dory a
their
Badoo.
their hand.
Oh, it's a hand.
But
Sorry.
yeah,
Okay,
but there are
you're right. I
ways
think it was
to
discard, so it's not as good as I was thinking.
yeah.
Um, so the other thing is we were talking about the Jellicent, the ability lock. Is there am I is this now because like if this was informant with Snorlax, Black Snorlax,
But you
it
mean item
would have
lock,
seen
right?
play. What's that?
You mean item lock on Jellicent?
Yeah, but like imagine this being informant with Black Snorlax.
Yeah.
You would have seen play, right?
Yeah,
Because
that
now
would
we're
have been
getting
really good.
something stuck. So if we're trying to play the stall deck, which I still think could be a Jellicent way, maybe you get this in and it helps make things miserable. But it's an interesting card. I don't. It may see some play. The second attack, yes, you can do it, but you're not playing it for that. I can't
Yeah.
imagine any deck.
I will also say with the ability, it reveals your opponent's hand, which is meaningful as well, and it does it every
Yeah,
single turn. That's actually not that bad. It's not insanely good, but it's okay. It's legitimately solid, allowing you to, you see their hand. You do actually have, wait, yeah, you do have to play a Pokemon from their hand onto the bench if you can, which is like something it's generally probably not bad
right.
to do because they could have just done it on their turn, presumably, unless something really bizarre happens. But you still have to. But then you see their hand, like, and you can do this. Then you can again choose to like Iono or not or something like that. So I think that's actually really solid. I like theoretically, there's a Zubat in Standard that I like talk about some, where it lets you look at your opponent's hand, and I talk about it, and I'm like, oh, this is a good card, and I never play it, but um, yeah, I think it is a really cool ability, which does a bunch of decent things, pretty solid things for control and not just control as well, allowing you to boss
Right.
down something at the end of the game, or have a target to boss at the end of the game or something like that too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Control will like this card. Control obviously got hit pretty hard with rotation. It always gets hit with rotation because you just lose a lot of pieces. It always does. Um, but as this year goes on, you get more cards. If Control gets better, stronger, and there's always some Control players out there, right? I would think they're probably get just to see your opponent's hand every turn. I think that a lot of those decks would want this, so it'll have some use cases out there. It's not going to be played a ton, but it'll definitely. Yeah, this should see some play by some people probably.
Yeah. And then the next card here, we have a Gothitelle line. We have the stage one here, which looks the top five cards your opponent's deck and can rearrange them, which is like useful theoretically, but it's not that good. But then you have, oh, and I will say there's a Gothitelle in standard, which does something like that. It looks at the top two cards of your deck and puts one on the bottom and one on top of their deck back on top. So we'll mention that part of the same line, but the ability here, Twisted Future, does it says once your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active, you may have your opponent shuffle their hand to their deck and draw three cards. And you also have the attack here, Synchro Shot for Psychic Colorless, which does 90, but 180 if you have the same number of cards in hand as your opponent does. That's not that strong, and you have 150 HP again, which is kind of unfortunate for you. Again, Gothitelle like one of the weaker stage twos, but regardless, the ability is interesting, somewhat disruptive. It's not insanely disruptive. I can, of course, also draw them up to three if they are down and you need to hit extra damage, which is like theoretically useful, but realistically not that useful. But still, definitely like a kind of interesting ability for disruption, though. If it didn't have to be in the active, obviously it would be much better.
Yeah, we're going to get air balloons, so the retreat cost is 2, so you can, you get that attached. It becomes your pivot card. Control players, I think may want, may want to do that. First, partly for the attack on the stage one, right? See your opponent's top 5 cards, put them back in any order. Now this is the type of attack. If we ever get the things like Chip Ice Axe and those type of control cards, and I know they hate them and they ban them and expanded, but then they make them back and they reprint them for standard, right?
Yeah.
And this is a piece to that to a lock deck potentially, which is a scary thought, right? In that regard. And then the second one, hey, this is how you're going to want to use it. You're going to want to get your opponent that they're down to. You want to deck them
Oh,
out
deck
with
them
that
out,
using
yeah.
that ability. That's what you want to do. And I know you're going to do it one day, and you're going
I
to talk to me about it for a half hour
If I do it,
because
that's like almost impossible to do because I've done it like maybe once or twice ever in like in Barney or Judge, which is because you can force your opponent to deck out by making them draw cards through the use of like shuffle
right.
draw, and you can increase the hand. But it's like almost impossible to do because they need to have like like one or two cards in deck and also like one or two cards in hand. So it's very hard to do, but it's really
Yeah,
funny when it happens.
right. If you get, which I don't know, isn't those type of control decks where you get down to like two cards and you're always playing the same card every turn and not decking out, right? Or three cards, whatever. This would be a counter to that, obviously. It's probably not happening. The attack's not great. I know you like these attacks where you manage your hand size, but it's still at 180. It's not really worth the effort on that. The attack, right? It's really the ability, and maybe the attack on the stage one. I think is where the interest to me is with these cards.
Yeah, definitely a little underwhelming. Could have been better. Could have been the Yathatel, which is like the Jellicent that yeah, like there's the old Gothtel that's like the Dynamax, but we're not seeing that, which is probably good. But yeah, anyways,
Yeah.
definitely kind of like a little interesting, but not that interesting.
No, these are cards. Like I said, there's a potential for some rough control stuff if they print the other pieces, and you know. I just never know with Pokemon, right? Like I said, they occasionally they let these things go crazy, right? So, but hopefully not. That's what I'll say there.
Yeah. Then we have the last set of cards we're looking at, though. This is a bunch, and these are the big ones. So these are like the new ones that are really interesting and important to talk about as well. And
Yeah.
so I'll start with the basics, and I'll kind of go over these relatively quickly. I will say all of the attacks here, but Virizion here for one grass does 30 and heals the same amount you do, and has 120 HP. For three grass or for 3 energy, two which are grass does 130. You can attack next turn. Nothing really special there. I don't imagine you have anything to say there.
No,
No.
it's not too good. So,
Okay.
and then we get to a bunch of fossils, which are actually not basic Pokemon. Or you're skipping the
Oh yeah,
fossils
yeah. I'm
because you said
skipping.
you're
We'll
doing
do the
basic
fossils
Pokemon.
after. We'll do
Okay.
the basics first, the swords of justice or whatever they're called. And so we have Keldeo EX here, 210 HP, which is okay, I guess. And then you have Watercolor's 30, but if it moved from the bench to the active, you do 120, which is okay, but not that much. And then you can also do 120 with your second attack, which is Watercolor's colorless and hits through effects. Again, okay, nothing special there. Hitting through effects with the wall, like a wall breaker attack like that is it's okay. It's kind of good, I guess. And your first attack is like uh, it's all right. I mean, it's not that good. Yeah.
Well, here's where it could have a use, and I don't see it right now, but I remember at times there's certain decks that have certain walls that shut them down. So if you're playing a water deck and probably a water deck with Baxcalibur because it powered up, then this would be like you put this one Keldeo EX and like the days when Decidueye was in format, right? And it didn't see a lot of play, but when it was around, it was very disruptive. So some decks you just play a card to beat Decidueye, so you didn't lose to it. And this could be that type of card for a water deck. You put one copy in so you don't lose to a walling deck.
Yeah, yeah, it's okay for that. I mean, it could be used with like Prism Energy or Luminous Energy as well, with something like Armored or something else. Then we have Terrakion. This is like a pseudo reprint of an older Terrakion. It's got Retaliate, which is your better attack. Your second one's just 100 for 3, but for fighting colors, you do 50. But if any of your Pokemon are knocked out last turn by damage from an opponent's attack, then you do 80 more, so you do 130, which is okay. It's not that much damage. Again, it's one-shotting Pheasantipede EX, which is okay. Not insane, but it's all right, I guess.
Yeah, it's not that good. The good part is it's got 140 HP, which is almost as much as like the one stage two, right? The Chandelure was
You
150.
know, it's as much
So
as the Reuniclus.
yeah, so but the attack's not good. I think we'd agree on that.
Yeah. Then you have the oh we have two more. We got the
Yeah.
last of the swords. We got Cobalion. I actually don't know if Keldeo is one of them. Anyways, you have Cobalion, which is 20 for one metal, discard a special energy from your opponent's active. That's all right. Like, okay, disruption. We see attacks like this from time to time, and occasionally they're all right, but not usually super good. Then metal colorless, metal arms does 80, 40 more if you have a tool attached, which like isn't that much. So, uh, the Holy Edge attack, the first one, which is for one metal, that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, the second attack's not that good. The first attack's really not that good. But if you need a counter to a special energy in a deck that plays metal that plays metal energy, you might slap a copy in. I'm not seeing that it's probably gonna see much play though.
Yeah. Then we have Genesect DX, and this one I think you like more. I'll read it quickly.
Yeah.
The ability Metal Signal. Once during your turn, you may search for your deck for up to two Metal Evolution Pokemon and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. And then you can do 150 and take 30 less for Metal Melancholia. So the attack I don't think is very good, but the ability is a little interesting.
Yeah, the attack's not great. It's not complete garbage either. But the ability, what I think it's interesting first off, because we have a card like Miraidon EX that searches for basic Pokemon, but this is searching for evolution Pokemon. It's a basic searching for evolutions only. I'm not familiar with a card that does this now, or has done this. There probably is something, and you can let us know in the comments of the video. But I the question is what type of deck plays it. Like I like playing Goldengo EX. I know there's other people that like it too. It's just a fun deck to play. You want to get four Goldengo EXs in play as soon as you can. So being able to get two Goldengo EXs each turn, I'm set up with all four in play. I have my turn three, right? And I'm good to go. And that's pretty, and so it's appeal, for Metal Evolution decks. It's a basic, so you just slap it on the bench. You don't want to attack with it. The attack's it's not garbage though. It's just not a great attack.
I don't know. It's
Uh,
pretty weak. I feel like
there's worse attacks in the game. We've covered worse
there are.
attacks, right? And there's worse attacks on Final Evolution basic EXs in the game too.
Yeah.
You're playing it in a metal deck, so you could attack with it. The point is, if your opponent gusts you up, you can still attach energies and attack with it eventually, right? Because
Yeah.
even
Presumably.
even if people aren't playing control, we all get those points. Oh, this game's gone wrong. I'm going to gust and just mess with my opponent that way. That's my only win condition. We all get there, right? And it happens to us. But I think it's really interesting. I don't know how good the ability is going to be, but it's really interesting. That's what I keep saying, right? So maybe in like a deck like Archaludon, go to your hand, it doesn't go into play. So now I can get any metal evolutions, including ones with an on-play ability. So it's appealing.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. I don't know. It couldn't have seen play. I don't think we have a deck right now that's really looking for like lots of metal evolutions, but it's kind of interesting. I guess you could play a bunch of Kling Clangs, and then just like toss them onto your board if your opponent's playing like Dragapult or something. Not that that would like do anything, but you could just play them. So that's kind of funny. Anyways, and then we have, and it could be useful in Mamoswine, I guess, but realistically not. But then we have some really interesting cards here. We have a reprint of Antique Cover Fossil, which it's one of the fossils, and it's immune to effects of attacks. So that's like kind of good. But then we have Turtuga. This one is the stage one fossil, and I didn't even realize, like I didn't even look at this card. I saw like a YouTube video on it, and someone was like talking about it. I didn't actually watch the video, but I saw this card, and for one water, it does 30 for each item in your opponent's discard pile, which is really good here, I think. I mean, we saw the Trashlands Garbodor, which was a very strong card. Trashlands Garbodor was really good for a number of reasons. Some are like not necessarily completely translating to current standard. One thing was that there were a bunch of pretty turbo-y item heavy decks. Not that there aren't those now, but I don't know. I mean, it's not like if your opponent plays like a bunch of their items turn one, you're just gonna like one shot all their Pokemon with this. This is also a fossil evolution. This Pokemon also is it does do more damage, just 30 times as opposed to 20 times, but then also tools aren't items, so that is a bit of a change. And also there is the other Garbodor in the same evolution line, which is really good, probably better than Trashlands Garbodor, I think. I'm not sure, they're different cards, but this card is still theoretically very strong, though again kind of weird being from a fossil, but I think there's kind of this idea that fossil based like Pokemon that evolve from fossils are like always really bad because they evolve from fossils, which like isn't really true. Evolving from fossils is worse because you can't really search them out. But it doesn't mean if a card evolves from a fossil it can't be good at all. Because if the card like we generally see the fossil evolutions be like super broken, like the Archeops that we saw in with Lugia or the other Archeops that got banned, which I guess they were like kind of unique and not normal fossils. But regardless, those were like super good, and the rest I think were all kind of bad. So if you find that like middle ground, then yeah, fossil Pokemon can be good, I guess. I mean, you could look at Pocket like as an example, but Pocket's a little different. But I'd say that's a way in which you can see that fossil Pokemon are hard to get into play But if they have good enough stats, they'll still be good.
Yeah, look, the attack on the stage one I think is good. 30, you can start to one shot things, or if your opponent knows you're playing it and they don't want to get one shot, I think items are the most important cards in the game. I do. I mean, that's just my view. I think they're just so crucial to advancing your board state. I think so. If your opponent then doesn't play items to avoid you're boosting your damage, they're really slowing themselves down. So you have to have some other attacker in your deck besides this, I would say, because you can have your opponent might not cooperate, and you need to have a way around it. So, but I like one energy attackers on stage ones. Obviously, from a fossil, yeah, that makes it tougher. And if you like expanded, you put it in Zoroark, right? If you have the water energy, I think you're putting this in Zoroark. Like, I think I'm just doing
Yeah.
that.
I was gonna say that you
So
have the Garbodor, but no, this is just like stronger than the Garbodor. Yeah. So also, I will mention, I'll say what the Carracosta does. It there's
it's actually pretty good. Here,
so
I'll
there's,
read it
there's a
off.
typo on PokeBeach. So
Oh, is
it
there?
does this is parental damage and affects stunts this Pokemon by Pokemon, your opponent's Pokemon that have, or attacks from your opponent's Pokemon that have any special energy on them attached to them. So that's like pretty good. And the attack, so it doesn't say any damage. It just says for 3 energy, it stops retreating, which is not what it does. It does 150 and stops retreating,
Right.
which is a big difference. And then there was another Carracosta, also random. So the anti-cover fossil is a reprint. Uh, the plume fossil is not a reprint. That's like kind of weird. But anyways, oh, and then I can put this into the my GLC fossils deck too. Anyways, so I can have 4 basic fossils that actually evolve. Anyway, so there's another Caracosta that increases damage by 30 for all your Pokemon. Or no, sorry, more damage. It does 30 more to your opponent's active evolution Pokemon. So not all of them all the time, but it is semi-universal damage increase, which is pretty nice. You got 2 solid Caracostas there.
Yeah, look, I don't love the attack on the Carracosta, but I think the ability is interesting. I think
The
first
new
off,
one.
the new Carracosta, right? It prevents damage and effects from opponents Pokemon that have special energy. We're seeing a number of cards that have little things that relate to special energy, and we are getting the new special energy. So perhaps Pokemon's planning on an upswing in special energy, right? That might be part of what their thinking is. And have been times in the past when there's a lot of special energy decks, right?
Yeah.
Where you could try like the Beedrill, the Rapid Strike Beedrill, that's a stage 2 that
Single
you do
strike.
shenanigans single strike, sorry, to get in play from the mustard card, which is really awkward, but you'd slap it in weird decks just because there's so much special energy, because that would one shot a Pokemon with special energy. So if there's a lot of special energy, obviously the stage 1 is good. And I think you probably, if there's, you put in the stage 2, if there's a lot of special energy decks around, which there are at times. And I'm wondering with the way some of these cards are worded, if they're planning on that being a bigger part of the game again.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like pretty constantly there are also like random cards that interact with special energies as well that you don't think of. The one that comes to my mind is the other Rotom V, but there are lots of others. There's certainly some that are in standard. Um, but regardless, yeah, there's 2 good Caracas as well. The one that does 30 more to your opponent's active evolution Pokemon with your like an ability, that's all right. I mean, it's not super good. It's not a card I've ever seen anyone play, and I haven't really seen people talk about it either. However, it's a card that if you're already playing the stage 1 and the basic, then it feels very worth it, because 30 extra damage is pretty nice. It's not insane, but it's good. And you can get really solid, legitimate value. Also, it does do, for 2 water. The other stage 2 does 150, so that's a better attack there, presumably. So figured I'd mention that. But definitely, I think a really interesting evolution line. I think Tortuga is the best of the cards we've seen. Slash, we'll see. I don't think the Art Gaps is better. Although I actually really like the Mandib as a control card.
And if you're playing expanded, you got the Carracosta GX too, right? You can slap that in the
Oh,
deck.
yeah. What's that
And
do?
its GX attack, it put any number of Pokemon that evolve from an unidentified fossil from your discard pile onto your bench for 1 colorless energy.
That's so bad because
So,
it doesn't get the Tortuga that you want because it evolves from anti-cover fossil.
well, what are you
Yeah,
gonna do?
you can't win them
But
all, I guess.
no. And the attack's not that good, nor the HP on the GX, so I guess we're skipping that. Okay.
Oh
So
wait,
on to
there's
the
the
next.
stage 1 Caracosta though. I don't even know. I think the stage 1 Caracosta can evolve from the stage 1 Tortuga, but I actually don't know. If everyone
Well,
knows, tell me down below.
if you were to play it, okay, yeah.
Because they used to be like restored. Anyways, then we have the other one. So we got a new fossil. I like the fossil cards, despite the fact that you are uncommon fossil. You don't like the fossil cards. I do like them. Oh, I didn't like say what they do. So I think this is no, yeah. It just, so it says play this card as if it were a 6 HP basic colorless Pokemon, and it cannot be affected by special conditions, which is like, I think I had that happen in one game. My opponent tried to like poison me or something to like knock me out, and they obviously failed. So, and then it can't retreat though, but at any time you can discard it from play, and none of these are an ability, which is like kind of weird. It's just stuff on the card. And then also, as far as I'm aware, it does not have a retreat cost. I don't know how this interacts with attacks to damage based on retreat cost. I guess it kind of acts like it has 0 retreat, but obviously can't retreat there. And then you have an ability as well, which is this ability here is Wing Protection. As long as it's on the bench, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon, which is fine. But there is Shaman. It's nothing spectacular, but it's all right. And then we have the Archon or the Archon. Then we have Archeops here with Primal Wings. This is not as good as some of the other Archeopses we've seen. One of which is banned, although no, the banned one is very good, and one of which is not banned, but really, really strong. And this one says, once in your turn, if it's in the active, you may choose one of your opponent's evolved Pokemon and evolve it by putting the highest stage evolution card into your opponent's hand. You can also do 100 for 2. I like this because you can use multiple theoretically in one turn as well. You can switch out, and you can actually devolve a stage 2 that's not been rare candy into a basic, which is kind of funny. You can like devolve a bunch of your opponent's Pokemon by switching around, and really mess with them. Oh, and also unlike TM Devolution, because TM Devolution can't be really used to buy time. I mean, it kind of can, but if you like TM Devolution, your opponent's Dragapult EX into a Dracloak, then they just play it back down. Well, no, they actually would use the Dracloak's ability and then play it back down, so it's even worse. But you could then hit them with Iono, because it's not an attack, so you can actually do stuff after that in your turn. So I think this card is really fun. I theoretically like TM Devolution a lot. I just don't end up using it, but I think this is a pretty cool card.
Well, and I like TM Devolution, although it has its issues, right? With the decks that I play it in, a lot of times I don't do it because you need the damage plus the devolution to get the knockout, so it doesn't pair. But what I like is I can use the Archeops. I can go like a Dragapult down to the Dracloak, and I can even potentially do that to 2 of them, and then I can TM Devolution, and now they can attack with Dragapult the next turn, unless they
Oh
rare
yeah.
candy, right?
Mhm.
So I can double devolve. Oh, plus also like if they have a Dragapult, there's times when I can or a stage 2. There's times I can knock out the basic. I can't knock out the stage 1 as well. So if I TM devolution, right? So I can use Archeops to set up the TM devolution, or for like decks that have some spreading, you can devolve with this and then gets the spread to get some knockouts on the bench and stuff. So I think it's I think I think I think it's a fun card. I'm looking forward to trying it out. I think and like you said, it does stack. So you can even pick on the same as the stage 2 that they've evolved twice. You can even pick on that one twice, right? I believe if you have 2 Archeops in play, you can choose the same Pokemon again.
Yeah. And then yeah, that's funny. I'm just thinking about this also. Now I can use Antique Plume Fossil in my Fossil GLC expanded deck when that returns to live, if it returns to live. Although the deck is super bad. But it's really funny because you like these Pokemon can still like the Archeops can rare candy from an identified fossil or antique plume fossil. The Archon evolves from antique plume fossil, but the Archeops can evolve from either, which is like really weird. I believe it could do it in standard as well, even though there wasn't the Archeop or the Archon that evolved from unidentified fossil in standard. Not really sure how that works, but it's still really funny. So I figured I'd mention that probably more than it's worth.
Yeah, look, it is a downside evolving fossils, but both of these cards that evolve, both these fossil evolution slides have good cards. The Archeops is the good one from the antique plume fossil, and the Tortuga, the stage 1, is the better one from the antique cover fossil. So yes, they're from fossils. People are going to ignore them, but don't. These are good cards, and you can make them work. So definitely, I think that these are worth some thought. Both these cards that evolve from fossils, which you don't see that often. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I will say the Arceus is probably about as good as the Caracosta in my opinion. Like the Tortuga is definitely better than the Caracosta. I think the Tortuga is again, I think as I said, I think it's like the best of all the cards we've seen so far. Not from the entire set, but that we're looking at today. It's a really, really strong attacking Pokemon. And then again, I feel like the Mandibuzz. The Mandibuzz is really fun, but or maybe not fun, but overall, I'm like excited for the set. It looks all right. It doesn't look insane, but it looks pretty good. It's kind of like 151, except there's more of them and it looks all right. It doesn't look truly insane, but it looks fair for like a mini set. Sometimes you see mini sets filled with cards that are just bad, but there are some good cards from the set. There are some really good cards in the set that we've seen, and there's some really fun cards as well.
Yeah, it's gonna bring options to the game, which to me is what we want. It's also not good if a set has one or two cards to me that are just overpowered, right? I know everyone gets excited because look how great this is, but I think it's just bad for the game in general. So I think we're getting a lot of fair balance cards that could have usage in certain decks and certain situations, and we got to think about what we can do to get them viable, right? And that's to me, and that's the fun of deck building in the CCG.
Yeah, but really excited for the new set. Really excited to see the rest of the cards from the set as well, including the new trainers, if there are new trainers. I don't actually know if there are outside of the ones we've seen already, but we hope you enjoyed and tell us down below what you think of the set and what you're excited for from the set we're excited for in the TCG in general. But we hope you enjoyed. Consider checking us out on YouTube at 10 Types and Uncommon Fossil. You can find the podcast on there or other podcasting platforms, and of course on our YouTube channel, so you can find other content as well about various different Pokemon TCG things. But we hope you enjoyed, and we're excited to see you in the next episode.
Take care.